The construction of job number 552, the reference given to the project to build a second Cunard superliner by the John Brown shipyard at Clydebank, began in December 1936 with the laying of the first keel plates. Although largely similar to the Queen, as the ship took shape, all the necessary components were produced and prepared for installation. Thousands of items were made locally, whilst others arrived from across Britain and overseas. From the 10 million rivets to the 140-ton rudder with its own inspection door, the boilers and equipment, and of course the decorative works of art, soft furnishings, furniture, tableware, and much more besides. The Queen Elizabeth was to be like a small floating village.
Tons of steel gliding down in 100 seconds. To help them solve that colossal problem, John Browns have built a scale model out of 2,500 weight of wax, and their technical expert explained.
Perhaps it may be difficult to realize that this is a scale model of the largest ship ever made, the Queen Elizabeth. To get a better idea of the real size of the ship, we have the Houses of Parliament placed along the back of the model, and you can see how much the model is longer than the Houses of Parliament. To get a better idea of the height of the ship, here is a scale model of Nelson's column from Trafalgar Square, and you can see that Nelson could talk quite comfortably to the captain on his own bridge. The launching weight of this hull is 40,000 tons, and to get this huge mass of steel into the water within 100 seconds demands the most careful calculation and arrangement of detail. Over 2,000 tons of chain are disposed in 18 bundles on each side of the ship. These are attached to the ship by means of the wire hawsers and serve as a giant brake or drag on the ship as she enters the water. Each propeller weighs about 35 tons. Propellers and rudder are locked to prevent any movement disturbing the course of the vessel as it is being launched.
1938, and on the Clydeside stocks is the new Cunard, number 552, destined to become the Queen Elizabeth. 1,031 feet long, the largest liner in the world. To every one of the 5,000 men who built her, she represented a personal triumph. A ship to uphold our maritime tradition, a memorial to the prowess of Britain's shipbuilders. But the triumphs of the 552 were not to be easily won on the Atlantic cross, and the two princesses were there, and 300,000 voices were raised in a real Clydeside welcome. The Queen, expressing her regret that His Majesty was unable to be present, spoke to her vast audience in these words.
I have, however, a message for you from the King. He bids the people of this country to be of good cheer in spite of the dark clouds hanging over them, and indeed over the whole world. He knows well that, as ever before in critical times, they will keep cool heads and brave hearts. He knows, too, that they will place entire confidence in their leaders, who, under God's providence, are striving their utmost to find a just and peaceful solution of the grave problems which confront them.
The ship began to move before Her Majesty had had time to name her.
Name her Queen Elizabeth.
So the ship that was launched under the shadow of war started on the first stage of her career.
The launching of a ship is like the inception of all great human enterprises, an act of faith. We cannot foretell the future, but in preparing for it, we show our trust in a divine providence and in ourselves. We proclaim our belief that by the grace of God and by man's patience and goodwill, order may yet be brought out of confusion and peace out of turmoil. With that hope and prayer in our hearts, we send forth upon her mission this noble ship.
On that day in 1938, many people must have wondered, was the Queen Elizabeth to take her place as the greatest of all peacetime liners, or was her work to be done in the shadow of another great war? During the time of her fitting out, the international outlook had become brighter. But as the time for her maiden voyage